which is this is a scale model, a bad one, of the golden altar of incense that's in the tabernacle and the temple that was built by Moses. It was built of gold. This is wood with gold spray paint, but has, you know, the original model was much bigger than this. It had horns on it and a place to burn incense on top of the altar. The golden altar of incense is described in the Bible as being in the presence of God. And when they burned the incense would rise before the Lord and was a pleasing aroma to God. And in the book of Revelation, incense is described as being the prayers of the saints, if you look in Revelation 5. So this was always an interesting center. We used this very, very late in our devotions, in our family altar, because I didn't have the idea till much later. But this was really fun for my son, especially because he
got to play with fire.
Yeah, he got to do the incense. He'd mix his own. We bought a variety of different types of incenses that we kept in this really cool metal box, which is also very cool for the son. But everything from imported incenses we ordered from Israel, which is very similar, they say, to the incense that was actually burnt on the altar, to 5 and dime store cones, you know, and he'd grind them up in a coffee grinder and make various scents, and then actually burn them on top of the altar here. We'd store them, I know, pretty cool, huh? We'd store them inside the altar here, and he'd reach in and grab his giant lighter, which was really fun for him, and the incenses, and then burn them. This would start our family altar. And we always reminded them that this is an illustration of our prayers going before God. So this was one of the preludes to prayer for us. Just something fun to do.
That's cool.
We had got this also late in our life. This is a shofar, which is a ram's horn. This is used to call the assembly of Israel to either to war or to worship for a meeting. So this is hard to learn how to blow. Scott learned how to blow it, and he could do a good job calling the family together with this shofar. These kind of things are just make it fun for the kids, and made it a very special event for us. But the center of our worship always was singing and a Bible lesson. So we'd go from there. We'd start off with prayer and end with prayer. But the fun for us was singing. My kids were musical, and I don't know if it's because we made a musical, or but that was real center for our time, was singing and Bible teaching. So.
Okay, so prayer, singing, Bible teaching, and Bible discussion, really, right?
Of course.
And then sort of lighting the incense and going to prayer.
Actually, this would start the meeting.
Okay.
Actually, Scott would be on this thing before, you know, we're in the room.
No fires. No fires ever.
No problems.
No 911 calls.
We always started off with just a brief prayer time and then song. Sometimes we wouldn't even start with prayer. You know, we'd just enter the room singing, and you know, they were anxious. I play guitar, so it was easy for us. If you're not a musical person, my recommendation is to get some CDs, and with worship songs, praise music. Camp Christian songs are wonderful for your younger kids because they're easy to learn, and spend a half an hour singing songs. We'd print up words for the kids on songs that to learn new songs for them, and then would come the Bible lesson. Now, I prepared for this because we acted out a lot of these Bible teachings, Old Testament stories, and the history books were really fun to embellish for the kids. I dramatized the story, and if you know, when my son's 7 years old, if 3 mighty men of David are going to Bethlehem to secure water for him because he missed drinking the water from his well when he was a child. When they're on their way down there, the 3 mighty men, I would add a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old boy who's their servant, so Scott would enjoy, you know, and I would tell it from his perspective. All kinds of fun things you can do with the stories in the Old Testament. And when we're finished with the stories, if the kids didn't have any questions, we always did. And these aren't hard questions. These are things like, how do you direct a child's sight to the Lord? You know. And I'm trying to think back when we first started doing this. One of the questions I guess I get most from dads who are interested in developing a good worship time at home with the kids is, how do you get started with something like this? We never had to force the kids or convince them that this was something that needed to be done. When Sharon and I were starting these things, they were on board immediately. You know, Jen was 7 or 8, 9, whatever she was, you know. And for her, she jumped right on board. Scott's done it all his life, so I'm not sure he even had it, ever need to be convinced about it. But they look forward to this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, the earlier that we start this as parents, it just becomes the norm. It's just what our family does.
Sure.
And yeah, I totally agree. The sooner we start, sure, the sooner they just embrace it.
I was surprised that even if there was you know, hard discussions at dinner. If the kids are, I'm trying to say, not say the kids are fighting, but if the kids are having unusual discord during dinner, everything just calmed down at family altar. This was not the kind of thing we had to separate the kids. They didn't fight a lot because they had 6 years difference between them. But I've heard, you know, some stories of people who've tried family devotions, and if they've got 3 or 4 kids similar age, you know, stuff happens.
It's tough.
Yeah,
It can be tough. I mean, just sometimes family devotion. We have 4 kids, and I mean, I'm not sure I should say this on tape, but sometimes family devotion can be the most frustrating part of my day, and we try and have a family devotion in the morning, you know, daily, and it can be a difficult, frustrating time for dads, but anyway, so prayer, singing. In terms of singing, and I should put some resources on the website about resources for singing. But yeah, you could download music or any of your CDs or any kind of worship music that would be good. You don't have to play guitar. I don't play guitar. Seeds family worship is excellent. It's all verbatim scripture and excellent stuff. So music, and then topical or the lesson part. Now, you said you prepared. I just want to communicate that there are just incredible resources out there that that you weren't giving a sermon. I mean,
Right.
when you say teaching time, I mean, we gotta remember we're talking, you know, to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. So teaching time is telling a story.
That's right.
You know, making it come alive, being somewhat creative, and then bringing home a point with some questions and an open discussion to get feedback from what our kids are thinking. I think it's so important to ask our kids questions and to get them talking. I mean, because if anything, it lets us know what our kids are really thinking. I mean, we will get to know, it's sort of like the test, we'll get to know our kids' heart and what they're thinking in their minds and their understanding. If we just present something, you know, like a Sunday morning worship, you know, like a Sunday morning sermon, if we just present, we don't know if they're really getting it. So, so that's not the model we're going after. It's not a Sunday morning class, sermon, lecture. It is really a family discussion.
Ours would vary anywhere from and we found these late. They came out with a book, I think, when Scott was in junior high and Jim was in later high school. Almost like a What Would Jesus Do book. And there was, you know, it was this thick, and it had situation discussions.
Huh.
So we tell a story of kids at school, and someone says, let's steal a test, and this kind of thing. What would Jesus do? And we started using some of those from time to time, either at the end of it, sometimes as the entire topic. We didn't have a lot of those tools earlier on. There's so many today. A few times we used my daughter's study Bible. It was a student Bible. And between some of the chapters it would pose questions that were interesting. And these are good resources, but there's stuff now that's designed for these sort of things that, I wish we had resources like that. My challenge was to how to make it interesting, whether it's if it wasn't a lesson like what we just described, it would be like a bedtime story, only from the Bible. But always with discussion, always with the kids' interaction.
Marty, thanks so much. Thanks for your heart. Thanks for your passion. Thanks for bringing faith home. Years before so many other people, really got it. So blessings to you and your wife, and you're reaping the rewards and the benefit of having kids who love and follow the Lord. So, thanks, Marty.
Thanks, brother.